Okay, this is probably going to go out. It's got all, I'm reached my limit, it says, so I'm going to try to get this last up here. It's telling about um, Debbie McKay. You wouldn't believe what these people do later. She went on YouTube and tried to counter me. And by the way, this was gone for a while and it was put back. So somebody took it and put it back. And anyway, what she said was, she says, when she turned the computer around to me and wasn't going to let me pay my rent, and this is a lie, what she's put in here. And I put it up way back then, this letter. She's manager. She still is. Affordable Inn is run by a Jew, and all these are. He's gotten so wealthy. This man has. But anyway, this was on May the 14th of 2014. She turned the computer around, and it was a picture of her daughter finishing high school in her gown. And she said, "I will not let happen to my daughter what happened to Alexis Murphy, who was killed here." So what is she saying to me? I've the one telling about the murders over the years, and if tomorrow all this were told, everybody would say, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't understand," etc., etc. They understood perfectly, as you can see from her. Okay, so this is why she wrote this letter that was lies. Why didn't she have the guts to come out and say in the letter that if I didn't leave, she'd have the police arrest me, and that it was all because she must have been threatened, or at least thought her daughter might end up like Alexis Murphy. I didn't kill anybody. I just told you. I did what I thought was right, and can you imagine if this is all finally told, how people have reacted to me and the laws and crimes committed against me? So now I'm going to jump to this to show you a little bit of what they've done. These are receipts, and I put this up before, and this is, okay, let me just read it. It was 8/8 of '09. And I paid $425 for a month, and then I paid the deposit $575. August the 8th. No, this is for the month. August the 8th, September the 8th of what? 20. What's the date on here? I'll take up my time trying to get the date. Anyway, I'll film it here if you can tell. 8/8 of '08. Okay. Now then, the monthly was till September the 8th of 15. So I paid this for a month, and thought I was going to get to, like before, stay for a little bit maybe. Okay, this person that took me there, come to find out it was friends. Gene West owns a lot in Vinton, a lot of places in Vinton, so he's well thought of and all that. Okay, this is who it is I rented from, Gene West, and it was, I signed the lease. What happened right after then was this woman who took me there, who come to me and took me over there under the guise of helping me. Okay, well, there's her name. I'm going to put it up there. Okay, I'm not going to put his is a friend. I hope he's good. Okay, but I signed their little lease and paid my rent right there. I've shown you. Now, Frida took me to get me some groceries, and I paid for them. She took me up there, and when we came back, she was the one who noticed it. She said, "Well, the air conditioning's not working. It was working when we left." Well, now then they've started the bit with the air conditioning. He has, and it never worked. It put out fumes that would kill a horse. Okay, now and they also come around in front of my window and started putting paint and drilling, and suddenly in this month, that this is like a lot of it's happened. I'll probably get run off from here. I don't know who's listening to me out there. Anyway, this is him in Vinton, and they're told to do, and they do it. Because there's no repercussions. Nobody's going to arrest them and hold them accountable. Okay, so now then, he keeps my deposit, and I'm so sick, and they're not going to let me stay. They're going to keep it up with the air conditioning. They're going to keep it up with drilling out front, and the crap that's going on out there. So I've just shown you that. Now I want to, if I can, I'm showing you enough here, if I don't lose it here. Okay, he kept my deposit. Now, Affordable Corporate Suites, I'm going to say this real quick here, was the Jew that this here, he owns this one. They should be sued, and that's not anything of what really went on of any of them. You should see what was done to me. And they laugh at it because they can get away. It's weird. Okay, this is Affordable Corporate Suites, Overland Drive. This is where the state trooper took me August the 14th of 09, because up on the mountain, I'd gone up there to get away from this kind of stuff being done to me. It was a National Park Service, and he was host, him and his wife. During the night, somebody came up to my tent and poured gasoline on it, and man, I come out, it's a wonder I hadn't died. Anyway, I sat up all night long on the table, and they brought me down here to this place. Now, I stayed there until, well, she tells I paid her rent. I always paid my rent on time, and she signed it. Now, this one she didn't sign, but it's telling why I left. They couldn't get me out with the fumes, and I was so sick I couldn't stand it, and I ate beans. This is true. I didn't have anything to eat. I ate fried eggs for breakfast, and I had a crock pot. I'd cook pinto beans and onions. That's what I had to eat to pay my rent. Due to rental rate increase from $8.88 to $10.15 per month, Ms. Childers found it necessary to move from our facility. While she lived here, she always paid her rent on time. If you need further information, please call me, Jean Croft. By the way, she still got her job. At least she told a bit of the truth. Of course, I leave out about all the chemicals that have killed me over the time, made my life a living hell. So this was from Gene West again here. Shows the deposit and that where I paid it. I've just put him up, inventing what he did. Okay, I'm going to put that back over here. I'll have to put it together again. I'm going to go back to, now then, I'm going back to Sizer. This is just a couple out of the whole mess. Excuse me for bouncing around. I put this up before. It's Ron Sizer. He's out in Troutville. I was taken out there, and he had an ad in the paper, and I've put it up, so I'm not going to go into that again, except this. It was supposed to be a year lease. I got out there, and it was a monthly lease now. Beautiful. Well, as far as I'm concerned, he had a huge two-story home. Had cars, and he had Jags, two Jags, 73 Jags. It must be worth a fortune. They were perfect. Sitting in his garage, and I've told about having he was hooked up to my electricity, okay? This goes on and on, the same thing. There was gas in there that would kill a horse. I couldn't even use it. This is his, and by the way, I found out that his brother, I believe they said, is an attorney here. Okay, Ron Sizer, this is when we posted a notice for me to leave. There was no reason for me to leave. I did nothing. He absolutely told lies. He said the deposit of $400 may be applied against any rent you fail to pay, which I didn't fail to pay anything, and against any cleaning or repair that you, when you vacated. Okay, if you fail to pay full rent in the amount of $600 no later than April the 4th, then the lease may be terminated immediately. Okay, I'm not going to read anymore because it's all lies. Now then, I paid the rent. Okay, here's one time I paid the rent, whatever that was. The deal was that I paid it on the when I got my check, or on the 4th of each month, and this is where I paid it. Now, here's Ron Sizer. Here's what he did, though. He would come in. You have no idea what went on there. He finally posted a notice of termination demand for possession. In other words, he's telling me I have to leave. And You are future notified your deposit of $400 may be applied against any rent that you failed to pay. I didn't fail to pay anything. So he's made, or abandonment of property will be discarded at the Botetourt County landfill. Okay, after I moved, there was nothing wrong with that apartment. That cottage outside had been his mother's, and she died 7 years prior. I was sick. It was horrible in there through the winter. Half the time I had no heat. And I'm paying for them to go out in their barn. I found that just before I left. They were hooked up. They'd go out early in the morning, his wife and daughter, and late at night. And I wondered why they did it. And it dawned on me, are they hooked up to my power? And they were. I cut it off, and by the way, when I cut it off, it went out in the barn. So now then, this man has made up lies, and he even put and I don't think I can find it other than the one I showed you, where I have to leave. It looks like an eviction notice. Later, after I'd already left, I called Botetourt County, and the lady told me, she said, you were not evicted, he just made it up. And I made his own eviction notice up. It wasn't legal. But I asked her, I said, if you see 2 cops sitting out front on the day he's told me I have to leave with the eviction notice he made up or not, what would you think? So they've got a joke out of what's been done to me. But here's the lies. And by the way, I put this up and way back then, what I'm putting up now. And I put up also that I found out one thing's making me so sick while I was there was that I pulled the string rope down and went up in the attic, and all his mother's stuff was stored up there. He has stored beds, he had stored, you wouldn't believe it. It had mildewed over the years. So this is why I'm getting sick. Now, when I put all this up, and I'm not going to be able to put it up now, but I have 2 or 3 times. When I put it up, I went to the post office out there in Troutville. In came this young man, and he was trying to tell me. He said it out loud, and I'm the one, nobody else was there but the people in the back in the post office. He said, you ought to go out, and he listed this address and sizers. And look what they're doing. They're taking all this stuff out to the landfill. Well, what they were taking was, because I put it up on YouTube, about storing his mother's stuff and all the rest of the lies he put up. He used it for storage, and then he said that I left stuff there, and he had to go dump it into the landfill, and I had to pay him. So all of it was a lie, and he got away with it. Anyway, this is a whole list of, he left a vacuum cleaner missing a part, and all of it's lies. I've put it up. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. And here in the back, he has put up a list of what I owe him. Comes to $692.02. A lie. All of it. All of it a lie. Signed by Ron Sizer. And, oh, listen, when I had the current, yes, when I had to leave, he had an eviction notice. That's what it was to me. 2 cops sitting out there, too. Somebody later said they must have been friends of his. The whole thing was carried out. After you had the current cut off, I realized, this is after I told him that I knew and what I'd done, that they were hooked up to my power. I realized that the rental unit was connected to the barn. I called Appalachian Power, and they gave me the cost of using 1-11 watt bulbs, 2-15 watt bulbs, and 2 well, I can go on for 2 hours a day. In the morning and night, oh, that wasn't what you had hooked up. He had these big floodlights hooked up. And I was told that it would cost about 98 cents a month. Total cost for 4 months is $3.92. This is a deduct to your damages. I didn't damage a darn thing. Are you understanding that no law took up for me? And this is just half of what they've done. And this goes on a background check. It's all lies. You wouldn't believe what went on here. You wouldn't believe it. He could come in at random, do as he pleased. They all did. And that's all I have to say at the moment. I have shown what has happened to me in this land of the free and home of the brave, and then what was done to me by some of my own people. And I hope there's God. You better believe it. I do.